Okay, we'll get started. Again, if you don't have a handout, there are handouts in the back left-hand corner. Our main topic today is going to be digital photography using Google Photos and Picasa, and I'll be presenting. My name is Tom Kreuzer. First, before we get to our main topic, we'll go quickly over some club agenda items. Our next, the next MACSIG meeting is next week, next Wednesday, August 23rd. And if you do have an iPhone or iPad or a Mac, I'd highly recommend attending the MACSIG meetings. And they're held in the 201 auditorium. They usually set their agenda just before the meeting, but they're well worth attending there. Our next general meeting is going to be September 21st. That's a Thursday. And we were not able to get the Baltic or the Caribbean room, so we're going to be in room 200, which is on the second floor. It holds about 30 people or 40 people, so we should be able to accommodate everybody, but it is going to be a smaller room there. And that topic will be on why is my PC slow? We'll talk about optimizing Windows, how you can check to see what's running and improve your performance and kind of tune your machine there.
Boy, do I need that.
It happens to everybody's machines. You know, you get a new machine and it runs really fast, and then you start loading things up, and then all of a sudden it starts slowing down. And especially if it's a year old, 2 years, 3 years old, you get all these different packages that are doing things. People think, I get the question a lot, you know, I think I've got a virus because my machine is running slow, but almost 99% of the time it's not a virus, it's just different add-ins that are loading and slowing the machine down, or you may have limited memory and that's slowing the machine down. So we'll show you how you can check a few of those things to see what's actually going on. Our officers, Jim Holman is our president, Linda Brown is our vice president, Paul Ebert is our membership secretary. I don't see him here. Mike Griffin leads the MACSIG and is the treasurer. Stan Miller is the secretary. Andrew Pertusi is our communication coordinator. And my name is Tom Kreuzer. I'm a director at large. And there was a note sent asking for people to join, and at the picnic, people to join. So if you did send anything in, Jim and Linda should be getting back to you. And basically, what we're looking for, it's not like everybody's leaving the board or anything like that. It's just that I think some of the people are getting ready to retire, and we'd like to get more 3M employees involved with the club. It just makes some of the stuff a little bit easier to do. So we're looking to get people involved a little more. Membership dues are $8, and you can pay them to Paul. Paul isn't here today, but you can drop it off with me if you've got it. And just a reminder, if you are changing your email provider, or you're retiring from 3M or whatever, please let us know what your new email is, because that's the way we send out these notices and renewals. And Paul, by the way, I think the end of, or the start of September or so, will be traveling, so he may not be around for a few months, but we've got some ways in place to add new members and to keep it. But if your renewal is coming due in the next month or two, don't worry about it. They'll be catching up in December and January and that. Suggestions for topics. If you do have any ideas for topics, talk to myself or any of the other board members. We're always looking for people to present. Can be on hardware, software, can be on stuff that you do at home or that you do at work. If you don't want to present, we have our monthly eBites newsletter. and we'll publish anything. Can be a sentence or two, or can be 10 pages on your experience with any hardware or software that you're using. Website, we do publish our meeting slides and handouts. So if you do want to look back on a past one or missed one, you can go out there and see that. And we try and record most of the meetings, so those are also available out there, the audio and the screens. We also have a deals section on there and the eBytes newsletter. So if you do have anything to contribute to the eBytes newsletter, again, you can contact me or any of the board members. Or if you just have a question, we put those in the eBytes newsletter, so those are available too. I list the website here, but it's also listed on the handout, in the back of the handout there. Any club questions before we get to the main topic? Okay. Before we get to the main topic, I want to thank you all for coming today. I thought we'd just have a handful or that. Glad people showed up. Our format is informal, so ask questions at any time there. Main topic here, I'm going to be talking about digital photography, specifically with Google Photos and Picasa. And I personally use Google Photos. I have it on I have an iPad tablet, so an Apple tablet. I have an Android tablet. I have an Android smartphone, and I use it to back up, share, and view my photographs. So it's not only the photographs that I take that are new, but I also have, over the years, I've talked about and given some meetings on scanning old photographs and managing those photographs. And actually out on Google Photos right now, I believe I have like 35,000 photographs out there. So they go all the way back to the 1900s. I've taken a lot of my family photographs and put everything out there. So I put everything there, and I have access to it on all these different devices, and that's part of the beauty of Google Photos, you'll see. On my desktop, I still use my desktop and laptop. I load photos, and I load photos from several other cameras. So I have point and shoot, a digital SLR, I get photos from family members and friends. I scan in new things. And also from Facebook, what I do is when I see a picture I like on Facebook, or I get if you get a text message of a photo or stuff like that, I make sure and save that and add it to my photo album. Because if it's a good one, chances are I want to see it in a year from now or 2 years from now or stuff like that. I don't want to have to remember, oh, where was that photo, or was it a text message, or what was it? You can save your text messages, and actually if you save them and you have Google Photos on your phone, it'll automatically add them to Google Photos. So it'll take care of all that actually for you automatically. But I collect them from a number of different spots, and I just like having everything there. On the desktop, I still do use the Google package Picasa, and I use that to edit my photos, manage my photos, and then upload them to Google Photos. So, and I'll go through what I do, the steps, and why I do some of the stuff there. Google Photos is used by over 500 million people, so it's like a lot of other Google things. It's used by a lot of people, and it has quite a number of features you'll see. If you're looking for a replacement to Picasa, we had last year in the June and the August meetings of last year, Jim Beardsley did talk about some replacements for Picasa, and one of them that he recommended was Adobe Lightroom. Very good package, lots of features, and then you also have your storage. It comes with storage and stuff like that, and it's $9.95 a month. I'm still using Picasa. I'm still looking for a replacement. because I want something that has all the features that I want, and I want it for free. I don't want to pay $120 a year for Lightroom or any other package. So that's part of the reason I haven't migrated off of Picasa to, let's say, an Adobe Lightroom. Google Photos does have a lot of features, and I'll cover those and demo some of those there. But it does lack many of the features that I currently use in Picasa. So that's why I still use Picasa, even though it isn't getting updated anymore. For now, I use Picasa and Google Photos, so I'm using both of them. Okay, Google Photos. Google Photos offers free unlimited storage, and Google Photos uses the Google Drive. The Google Drive is their cloud storage, and it's their cloud storage that includes, if you have a Gmail account, it includes that, Google Drive, and Google Photos storage there. But it does allow for unlimited number of photos at up to 16 megapixels and up to 1080p videos for free. For those that aren't free, so if you did have a higher megapixel or you didn't want it, because even when you load the 16 megapixel, it does compress them, so it's not a perfect service there, but it is very, very high quality. It just isn't as high as some people want it to be. If you want more megapixels, or let's say you've got 4K video recordings that you want to store up there, those aren't free. And Google will give you 15 gigabytes of free storage space, and that's across, like I say, Google Drive, Gmail, and Google Photos. You can buy additional space from Google for 100 gigabytes for $1.99 a month, or a terabyte for $9.95 a month. I don't purchase any, so the 35,000 photos that I have not purchased any additional storage. My pictures are less than 16 megapixel, and that's what I use. Google Photos, I mentioned before, it's available on an Apple device or an Android device. There are apps out in the iTunes Store or the Google Play Store. And if you install it on any of these devices, I believe it automatically turns on auto backup, or you may have to turn it on. I forgot exactly how it works, but there's settings in there to turn on the backup so that all the photos taken, or when you save photos from other locations, those are automatically backed up to Google Photos there. Also in the options when you install it is you can tell it that I only want it to back up when I have a Wi-Fi connection. And that if you have a limited data plan, it'll say it won't be using any of your data plan for the month there. It'll accumulate the pictures until you're connected to a Wi-Fi, then it can do the backup. And also, if you're worried about it draining your battery or using a lot of resources there, there's an option to turn it off so it only backs up when it's connected to a power source. Okay. The photos, when it does back it up or put it up on Google Photos there, they are not immediately available to anyone except yourself. You can go out there and you can look at them. But if you wanted somebody else to look at them or that, you have to do what's called sharing, and you can share them with individual people, or you can share them with groups, or unlimited, so you can decide the visibility of if you're going to make those photos available to anyone. But by default, if I take a picture, it's not available to everybody the second that I take the picture there. I talked, this is just a reminder, if you are looking for backup or things like that, I did talk about Google Photos app back in June of 2014 when we were talking about backing up your tablets and phones, because it is a nice app to back up your photographs to make sure that you've got them in another location in case your phone gets stolen or your phone gets lost or something like that. Photos are not backed up usually to some of these other cloud services and that's where Google Photos can help with that. So you have the app that's available on the tablets and on the smartphones. If you have a Mac or a PC, Google makes another piece of software, and that's called the Google Backup and Sync software. And the backup and sync software, while it's not Google Photos for viewing and editing and things like that, it provides the functionality to be able to take photographs or any, for that matter, any file that you have on your PC or Mac and back it up to the Google Drive there. And so there's the software available for that, and you can install that on your devices and back it up. And if I back up, let's say a directory where I have photographs on my PC, it's shown in Google Photos up on my other devices. If I go into any of the other devices, I can see all those photos that were backed up to Google Photos there. Yes?
On the backup and sync, if you set that up backup and sync and then you delete photo off your device, does it delete it off of Google Photos?
Yes, it will delete it off of what it's syncing there. So it truly is a two-way sync. And what it's doing is it's on the PC. If you delete a JPEG, let's say, it knows that you've deleted it, and it'll delete it up on Google Photos. Likewise, if you're on Google Photos and you delete it, and it was synced, it'll delete it back on the device, whether it's your phone, your tablet, or your PC. And that's a good thing and a bad thing. I wanted a little more control myself, insofar as I would have preferred the package to say, do you want to delete it on these different devices? It doesn't give you the option. It just deletes it on the different devices. So now, the saving grace is it's deleted on the different devices, but there is kind of an undo that you can get back files up in Google Photos. So it's not totally disappeared, but it will be deleted from your PC there.
I guess what I'm hoping to do is take photos off my devices, and because it just gets too loaded up, I want to keep them, but then I want to take them off of my device. So I would not want to use the backup and sync.
No, typically, I mean, for your photos to back them up, actually that's what it does recommend. It recommends that you use Google Photos, and there's an option in there where it can take them off of your device to free up the space on the device. So if you're running low on space and just want them up on Google Photos, it can do that for you, and you can do that by date. So you can say all photos that are over a year old, I no longer want them on my phone. They're just going to be up on Google Photos, which means that whenever I have a connection to Google Photos, I can get at all those old photographs. I just no longer have them locally stored and taking up space on my smartphone.
So if you do the backup and sync?
Well, that's where it gets kind of a little complex. When we talk about sync, if they're no longer down on the smartphone, it no longer is synced to the smartphone. They're just up on Google Photos. They are no longer on the smartphone anymore. But the minute I take a picture, so if I take a new picture now, I've got one copy that's on my smartphone, and I've got one copy up at Google Photos. If I delete it up here, it's deleted up here and down here. If I delete it down here, it's deleted here, and it's deleted up there. If I remove it from here, so I say I no longer need it on here, it will leave it up here. So there's a function that I'm not deleting it, I'm removing it. It still stays on Google Photos.
Terminology then?
It's terminology, and they have another thing called archive, so there's some options that you have in there. And it's best to try some of this stuff because it is confusing and that. The other thing I'll mention with photos is, yes, I put all my photos up on Google Photos, but I also have local hard drives that I put all my photos on. So that isn't my only backup. I've got other hard drives, and that has the original quality and stuff like that. So I do have that in addition to Google Backup. If a fire came by and ever wiped everything out, or a hurricane or that, I'd be able to get back Google Photos, at least Google Photos, and the quality that's out there.
Is that quality less than what you would have on your local backups?
It can be, because when the files get uploaded, it will do a compression. To get the unlimited storage, it does a compression. So you do lose a little bit there. And if you've ever attended one of our other ones, like with Jim Beardsley and that, Lightroom and any of those, both his and my recommendation for dealing with photographs is that you have the original in its original size in that, and back that locally to a hard drive or some system. Yeah.
I'm on my Google Photos right now, and there is a free up device storage.
Yes, that's exactly.
You remove original photos and videos from your device that are already backed up. And when you do that, it goes in there and it counts, and it says right now I have 214 that I can remove. So I'm going to do that, and they're going up there and now have more space on here.
Right, right. It removes them from your local device, but as long as you have the connection to Google Photos, you're still going to be able to get access to them. So, you know, like I have access to my 35,000 photos. Well, I never took all of them on this device, and they'd never fit in the storage on this device. So it's just if you've taken recent photos or things like that, and all of a sudden you're running out of space, that's a good option. Yes.
I got a real quick question, and it's like, what, I mean, can I take a picture that I don't want to have it go up to Google and just not have that go up? You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Unfortunately, no. Once you turn it on, I mean, once you turn it on, it's going to take all your stuff. And if you turn it off and then take a picture and then turn it on, it's too smart. It says, oh, these photos haven't been backed up, and it takes everything. The only thing you can do is, I mentioned, you can take a photo up at Google Photos, and you can designate that photo as archived. And when you designate it as archived, when you go to these different views and albums, the photo will not show up in any of the views or albums.
There's no private setting or anything.
Well, everything is private. The minute it gets uploaded, only you can see it. Other people can't see it. But let's say you didn't even want to see it. That's what the archive is kind of for, is I don't want to see it. I took it, but I want to keep it. But I don't want it showing up in the timeline, which shows all your photographs in a time, or in an album where you may have organized them that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Once you have uploaded it, you go to the Google Photos and then just delete a picture that you just don't want anymore.
If you delete it, you have to remember that if you delete it up on Google Photos and you have, you know, the Google Photos on your smartphone, it's going to delete it back here. So if I want another copy, let's say on my desktop, I'll take my stuff to my desktop, and then I'll have a copy there also. So I mean, you can kind of have multiple copies of stuff and things like that, but you're managing Google Photos wants to be your one-stop management of all your pictures and that. Okay? That makes sense? Any other questions? Okay. So you do have this option of backup and sync, and as I mentioned, it works for not only photographs, but you can use it to, let's say you have Quicken and you want to back up your Quicken to the Google Drive. You can back up your Quicken to the Google Drive. Yeah, and this last bullet is what I was just talking about. You can configure it to back up and sync not only photos, but any directory or that you have on the PC. And this is what the website looks like. Actually, you don't have to write down this URL. If you just go out to Google and Google Photos, you can get to this. So, but you can see here it's listing the option we talked about here, the backup and sync. So if you're looking to install something on your Mac or PC, this is where you go, and any of the mobile devices, Android or Apple, it works there. Now you can see I've got my little demo here. It says take a photo of the group, so I'm going to take a photo of the group here. Just a second. Okay, everybody smile there. Yeah. I'm also going to take a video because everything that we've talked about for photos, it works for videos also. So the backing up, the moving, and stuff like that, it also works for both. Now I plugged in. You'll see I plugged in my phone, and the reason I plugged in my phone is because on my device, I have set the settings so it'll only back up when I'm connected to Wi-Fi, and also I have to have power. So if I didn't have this power connected here, it would sit on my phone and it actually shows you a little cloud and it says you have X number of photos to be backed up to the cloud. And as soon as I get power and have Wi-Fi, then it starts shooting them up to the cloud there. Okay? And in a couple of minutes, they'll go up there and I'll show you what it did there. Sure.
What if you have two PCs, you want to run backups from, can you independently have those go to, or you need two accounts to do that?
You can, I have multiple machines, and essentially it's the same as multiple, a smartphone, a tablet, a desktop. You can have them all go to the one account. So normally you'd have all the photos and everything going to the one account. Now if you didn't want that, can you create a second account? Just like you can create multiple Gmail accounts and things like that? Yes, you can. So I personally have a couple of them. One is just for the club. I have one for the club, and that's where I put the club picnic pictures and things like that. I don't put that in with all my other stuff normally. So yes, you can have separate ones, but you can also put them all to one. And usually for most people it makes sense to put everything to one account there. And that works for if you have multiple smartphones, so you and your wife have smartphones, you don't have to each have them. You might as well, be using it so you can have it to the same Gmail Google Photos there. Okay? Was there another question or? Okay. So we talked about Google has this backup and sync. Now I'm going to tell you, I don't use the backup and sync. I mean, technically I do use it for a few things, but I don't use it for photos. I use Picasa. And Picasa has a feature to upload photos to Google Photos. So I don't have to use the backup and sync to back up my photos or to move my photos up to Google Photos. What I do with Picasa, and I'll show later, I edit, manage, organize my photos in Picasa, and then when I've got them the way that I want, then I upload them to Google Photos. You can pick a new or an existing online album. So when you upload, it groups the stuff together by albums, and you'll see in Picasa you can assign them to an album. When you upload, there are options for the size, and what I recommend you do is choose the original size to upload to give you the highest quality. This is where it gets a little complicated again. The original size will count against your storage allotment, 15 gigabytes free, but there's an option in Google Photos to recover that, the size that you uploaded there by going into Google Photos and using something like recover storage. And that goes back through and compresses it, and then it doesn't count against your 15 gigabytes. So what you can do, what I do in Google Photos is I'll upload, and I can go a long time uploading before I start getting close to my 15 gigabyte limit. When I get near my 15 gigabyte limit, then I can go out to Google Photos and I can let it go through and compress things down and get my storage back. So I don't purchase storage from Google. I get unlimited by using this option there. Because if you don't do it, if you don't use the original size, the other option they have is best for sharing. Well, the best for sharing will reduce your photos to 2048 resolution, which look okay on the screen, but if you wanted to print them out or you wanted to zoom in or stuff like that, they don't have the quality and detail to be able to do that. So you do want to use this original size. It's just that if you upload a whole bunch of photographs, you're going to have to do the recover storage to get your storage back down. So I don't know if that makes sense. Once you try it and that, you'll see how things work, and it'll make recommendations along the way too if you start approaching your storage limit and that out there. So this is what it looks like. This is a screen capture from Picasa, and you can see Picasa does have a button down at the bottom here, and this button says upload to Google Photos. And so you can select one photo, you can select all the photos. In this case, this is all the photos I had edited from the PC Club picnic, 162 photos, and this is the screen then that pops up. This is the album that it was going to create or add them to if it already exists. I'm using the original size. There's also some options if you were going to be sharing this on Google Plus or wanted to notify people that were in the photos, send them a link. You can actually put their names in here and you can do that. But in this case, I'm not putting anything there. I click the upload, and then it goes through its process of sending them up to Google Photos one at a time. Google Photos, as this cloud service up here, has a number of features. And those features, whether it's editing, cropping, rotating, changing dates, things like that, those can be done from any of your devices. So I could use my smartphone, I could edit it, and or I could use a tablet, or I can use my PC and browser, go out to Google Photos and edit it there. But I can edit it on any of these different devices and make my changes. And some of the features that you have, I mentioned that you can, when you upload it, you're the only one that can see it. Well, if you want to share it with somebody else, that's where this sharing comes in. You can share a single photo or an entire album with just an individual person, or you can open it up to everybody in the world, or you can put in 50 people that you want to share it with. Also, if you want to create links for Facebook or publish it out on Facebook or Twitter, there's options for doing that. Another option is you can get a URL that you can send if you want, and that's the option for the PC Club picnic. If you've gone out and looked at the pictures from the picnic, That's what I put out on the 3M website, and I sent an email to all the members saying the pictures are out here, and click on it and you can view them. You're going in through the URL there. And in addition to just viewing the pictures, Picasa does let you give permission to people to update the albums. So maybe there's an album you're doing of a wedding, somebody's getting married, and you'd like everybody in the wedding party to share their pictures together. Well, you can set it up so that this album, all these people have permission to upload photos. So that's a handy thing if you're looking to combine photos and share things from multiple people there. Okay. Another option it has, or feature that it has, is what's called suggested sharing. So Google uses facial recognition, and if you set up your contacts, Google Contacts, and how many people use Google Contacts? Okay, a few. I highly recommend Google Contacts. It's for keeping track of your people, their email addresses, their home phone, their notes. You can put notes out there, birthdays, all these things, and then it integrates in with the calendar, Google Calendar, your telephone, so my telephone rings, it tells me who it is. Also on Google Contacts, I put pictures of people. So I have pictures of people. Chuck over here. Whenever Chuck calls me, there's a picture of Chuck that pops up, and so Google will look at those pictures that you've assigned to the different people, and if it says, oh, I see you just added a picture with Chuck in there, it'll suggest that you might want to share this photo with Chuck, because Chuck's in the picture. So it'll automatically suggest some sharing. You don't have to use it, and you can turn it off if you don't want it, but it's a nice little feature there for sharing and that in there. Yes?
Does that also go to the calendar then? Like when you put something on your calendar, sometimes I'll put something on my calendar here and the Google Calendar on this phone, and some days I can go to my pad or to my PC and there it is, you know, and some days it's not. I don't trust it.
Oh,
And Google Contacts has sometimes had that, and I don't know what it is. I mean, I have my phone plugged in, it's on Wi-Fi, you know.
yeah, I mean, all of that integration is a little bit complex, but essentially what you can do, and this is what you have to kind of decide when you have a phone or a tablet or anything, is where am I going to maintain my calendar? Where am I going to maintain my contacts? Where am I going to maintain, you know, your information there? And I use Google Calendar and Google Contacts. Now, you can use that on an Apple machine. So I can have an iPhone, and I can say, iPhone, my contacts, get it from Google Contacts. And you can add, you can delete, you can modify stuff within there. And you don't want to have multiple contacts. Let me put it that way. You don't want to be using the Google Contacts and using, if you're using, let's say you're doing Yahoo Mail. Yahoo Mail has its own contacts. Well, you have all these different lists of contacts that you may have email information in, telephone numbers, names, birthdays, things like that. But you mentioned the integration. If I go in and put a birthday in for a person, if I put Chuck's birthday and it shows up on my calendar, this is Chuck's birthday. And it'll notify me in that. So that's where you can get this integration. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're not having to duplicate information on different systems. But each of these systems, if you go into an iPhone, you can say, oh, instead of using the default contact service that is set up for the iPhone, I want it to pull the contact information from my Google Contacts. And that's similar to mail, if you're familiar with mail. you know, you're going in and you're telling the iPhone, this is the mail that I want. You can add additional mail, and that's the same thing that you can do with this. If you just want one Google Calendar, use that. Okay? But yeah, this is handy for picking out people and assigning it there. I mentioned that I use Picasa for edits, but Google Photos does have some simple basic edits there, and you can do that stuff on your smartphone or on the cloud. Color filters, adjustments, cropping, rotating, things like that can be done there. They also have an assistant to help create photo books. And photo books are, you can take, let's say you had a birthday and you took a bunch of pictures, you can go out and you can create a photo book, and I believe it's 40 photographs. It'll print it out in a nice little book there for $9.95. So it has some options like a Shutterfly or stuff like that automatically built in. You can also do collages and animations. This is a nice feature, and I'll show it in the demo a little bit. A smart search. So once you have your photographs in there, you can search for anything. People, places, and things. And you normally in the past you had to put tags on photographs of everything to be able to search in that. Well, tags are still a good idea, but you don't have to tag. So this is similar to going out to Google and you search for things and it comes up with all kinds of stuff. You can search for anything. You can search for dogs and it'll show you all the photos you have that have a dog in it. A boat, a car, a mustache, glasses. It'll search for anything that you want. You can put in any word or any combination of words to narrow it down. This is another feature that I like very much. I can cast my photos or have it show up on my TV. So I can use my smartphone or a tablet because I have Google Photos on it. I can pull the photos up in there or the videos. I can pull it up in there, and with one button I can send it to my Chromecast, or I also have an Apple TV. I can send it to my Apple TV, and now it's showing up on the big screen, and so everybody in the room can see it, and I can go through the photos there. So it's really nice for sharing and looking at stuff. Another feature that it has is it will automatically merge 2 or more duplicates of photos, leaving just one photo. What I mean by that is you may have taken a photo and it was automatically backed up with your smartphone, but then you took that image off your smartphone and you put it to your PC, and now you've uploaded that image to Google Photos using Picasa or with the backup and sync. It's smart enough to know these two are the same, exact same image, and it won't allow duplicates. It'll only leave just one image there. So now we'll go in and demo Google Photos. So I'm going to go over here. Let's go here. So, well, let's go back to Google here. So here I'm just at a Google search. If you don't know how to get to Google Photos, just say Google Photos and search, and you'll come up with all this. You can check out, you can install, you can create, you can do all your stuff there. But now I've started up Google Photos. Google Photos by default, when it starts, will take you to the photo view. And the photo view is showing me chronologically the photos that I've taken and that have been backed up. So you can see we have our two here. We have a movie. This is the movie that I took. And we can take a look at that. Because now it has to download it from the cloud. So the backing up, the moving was also. So there's our movie, and there's our photo of the general group there. Let's go back here. So what it does is it backed it up because I had it plugged in. This view shows it chronologically, so you can see I can either scroll down here, but if you've got a lot of photos, you can see it shows a timeline over here. So I can immediately, and like I said, I go back to 1900, so it can only show so many here. It shows this and then it skips to 1910 there, but I do have old photos out here. Oh, it only went back to 63 there. We'll see. There I am in 1970. That's 1970 there. But you have the timeline. So the timeline's kind of nice. You can zip around. You can get at stuff that way. Again, it's showing you the different photos that are out here. I mentioned with the photos what you can do. Let me check my deal there. So this photo isn't available for everybody, but if I click on it here, I can go in here and I can click on this share button. This is a share button where I can then go in and share it with people. You can see I've got pictures for Jim and Linda and stuff like that. That gets it off of my Google Contacts, so it set that up. I didn't have to set that up. But I can share this album, I can share the album, I can add this photo to another album, I can get a URL link and then copy that or post it on Facebook or Twitter. So I can, you can, this is the way that you share or do it with other people there. We mentioned other things that you can do to a photo. You have the ability to rotate, so I could rotate it here. I could archive it. That's that feature that I talked about where it kind of disappears from the view, from the photo view and the albums. It'll disappear there. It won't be deleted, but it just doesn't show up.
How do you find it again?
You can go to your archive. So when I put it in the archive, I can go back here and you can see there's a button to view the archive. So you can see the archive and a number of the settings. Now let's go to the settings real quick here. This is where I talked about recovering the storage. If you upload it and you're running out of space there, you can do a recover storage to compress and get back some of your storage. But these are different options that you can turn on and off with what's going on there. So let's go back here. Let me do this. I'm going to go into this one. So this is the picture from the picnic. Were most of the people here at the picnic? Or okay. This is the picture. Jim Beardsley took the picture. Very nice of him, and we've got everybody in there. But the picture's a little dark and stuff like that. Well, I can go into it. I can do an edit here. A couple of things I can do. It has different filters here. So I can pick any of these filters that I want. I'm going to try the auto and see what that looks like. And that looks pretty good. It lightened it up. Got the color balancing good there. The other thing I may want to do is I may want to crop it. So I can go in here and I can start cropping it. And if I had to rotate it, I could rotate it. I could also within the edits here, let's go into basic adjustments. It does have a few little things to change the color, so I can add more color, or they have a thing called pop, which is actually the contrast. It works with the contrast there. So you do have a few minor adjustments that you can do to it to clean it up a little bit and to do some things there. And so I did done now. Now I've just changed that photo. So if I have it in an album, it's going to show up this way in the album. If I download it, it's going to download this way. So it's kind of a nice little thing there. And this is an old photo. If you've been to my previous scans, this is an old photo that I did of my self there. If I wanted to clean this up, a similar type of thing, I can go in here, I can edit it, I can do some auto. Well, the auto doesn't do a whole lot there. Maybe I have to change a few things, add some more color, but I can add some color. I can go in here, this picture's out of tilt, I can straighten it out, I can crop it. Well, I didn't do a real good job of straightening out there, but you get the idea. You can go in, you can do your basic edits. Pretty easy in here. There's not a whole lot of things that you can change, but there are some nice things, and when I'm done, I can save it. And now if I look back on my view there, I've got it edited there. So you can go in and make some changes there. Let's see. Oh, we mentioned up here the search capability. So while I'm in this view showing the photos, I have access to all my 35,000 photos from this view. So I can search if I want to search in here. Oh, can't spell cat. And it'll pop up photos that you have a cat in. If you want a car, you can pop up photos that have a car in there. Now, sometimes it's questionable what it came up with, because like this photo, I don't see a car. I see a three-wheel trike. I wouldn't classify that as a car. You know, here's some cars here. Here's some cars back there. But I don't see a car there. Or like this is at the X game. I don't see a car. I see. So I'm not. It's not perfect, but it certainly is interesting to be able to search and put in things there. And you can delete, like we mentioned. Let me go back here and let's go back. So if I didn't like this picture, I could delete it here. And when you attempt to delete it, this is where it's saying it'll remove it from your Google Photos, which is up here, and the sync device. So I synced it, or I took it with this smartphone. It would remove it from this smartphone there. Okay. So those are the, let's go into it. So you have the Photos view. You also have the album view, and the album view is going to show you the different albums that you have set up, and you can go in and look at them that way. And photo can be in one or more albums, or 0 or more albums. Doesn't have to be in an album, but usually you're going to want to organize it. I organize my stuff at a minimum by year, so I break photographs up into there. But if there's special birthdays or weddings or things like that where I have quite a few photos, I'll break that up into its own album there. And you can see across the top here, it also broke some things up there too. It took all my photos and automatically started grouping them by place. So it's got in Egan, in Bar Harbor, these are in Cape Elizabeth, these are in Minneapolis, these are in Maplewood, these are in my hometown of Canby. So it breaks things out. If you have GPS and you've identified the photos, it'll break them out that way. And then it also does the same thing for things and videos. It'll break out there. Okay, any questions on Google Photos and what it does? Yes.
So if you modify that photo that you did, is that a permanent fix, or is it like Picasa, you go back to the original?
Well, yeah, I'll show you what happens here.
If you had that photo of you that you changed, once you do that, does it change forever? In
this case, this does not have an undo. So Picasa does have the original photo, and you can undo and redo, and you can do the layers there. This does not. You can see when I go into edit here, these are brand new I mean, I can't undo what I did before with the edits.
It had an original up there, was that?
Oh, yeah, I guess I didn't. Let me go back here. Excuse me. Well, let me get the one that we were editing here. You can, yeah, I guess you can download the original, but I think you're always editing.
You had yeah, right there, the first one. Down.
Oh, well, no, when it talks about original, it's talking about this color here.
Looks like it's a little darker.
Oh, yeah, I guess you're right. It did go back to the original. I don't know. I guess bottom line is I don't do my edits up in here. Like I say, I use Picasa because Picasa has a lot more edits and a lot more things to do. But it looks like this does have, and at least to download the original and stuff like that. So I guess it does have,
That's just,
yeah, there it's back to its original there. Okay, yeah.
that with dates, I assume it takes the date from the device and puts that in automatically. But if you took a picture of a 1910 photo, you can adjust the date that will occur on the file.
Yes, you can. And this, I wouldn't recommend Google Photos because you'd have to do it one photo at a time. Picasa lets you mark a whole bunch of photos, and then I can adjust the date and the time within there. And there's other packages that also let you adjust the date and time, but you do want to, for scans, you want to do that. Also, it's a case of, like in the case of the photos for the picnic, I was accumulating them from 3 different sources. So Jim Beardsley had taken some, Al Seaver had taken some, and John back there had taken some. And, you know, you can never have them exactly synced, the times and stuff like that. The date's probably correct on them, but people may have forgotten to set the time back for daylight savings time or stuff like that. So usually what I have to do when I'm syncing from multiple sources there is go in and adjust the date and time so that they're all synced up. And that I can do in Picasa very easily. Here I'd have to go into 162 different pictures and individually change each one. And that I wouldn't want to do. And Picasa lets you say, oh, you're going to adjust it, and let's say it wasn't set for daylight savings time. You can say, add an hour to it, and it'll add an hour to every single photograph in there. Or that you've selected, it'll add an hour to. So it makes it real easy to adjust dates and times. Yeah.
If you have everything come off of your multiple devices, they're all accumulated in Google in their original size, can you then have a external hard drive, a terabyte, and back up from Google to the drive?
You can, and there's actually an option to back up from Google everything that you have out there, but because you lost a little in the compression,
But if you save the original.
Yeah. Well, even when you say original, it's compressing it.
It is.
Yes. Yes. So even though you took it at a certain resolution, the resolution is correct. It's just if you're familiar with the way the compression is done, when you do JPEGs, you can do compression 100%, 90, 80, 70, 60% compression. And so there's options in compression, and it compresses it. So if you want the original, if you truly want the original, put it on the PC and back it up. And that's what I do. That's my master backup. This is kind of a secondary backup, but it's also the sharing, the way I share it and make it available to everybody. Okay? Yeah, back in the back.
Okay, so, you know, a few years ago I started using Shutterfly, and that's free for storage and everything. And, I mean, I like it because it makes all the really fancy, like, photo books I want to make.
Yep.
But I saw that Picasa does that too. It's like, I'm just wondering if you know the difference. Like, on Shutterfly, you can make
Some of the sites are still handier or easier to produce some of the photos and things like that. So I mean, if you're going to end up printing things even at a Walgreens, you're going to have to upload your photos to Walgreens.
No, not in Shutterfly, no. No, you can tell them which one you want to print, and then you can pick certain places like CVS and Target, and they don't charge you for any extra fee or anything like that.
Okay.
But if I really want special photos, I just have Shutterfly print them because the quality is really nice, like a lot nicer. You pay just a little bit more, but and especially it's 10 cents a photo, and that includes the shipping. Because what they do is they say you get free prints, but then you pay 10 cents for shipping. But still, you know,
Right.
it's a pretty nice quality, and not as good as what you can get like at Target and stuff. So I kind of stopped having them print somewhere else. But you can do that. I just wondered, like, you know, like 3 years ago, I never really heard a lot about Picasa to do that kind of thing, and wondered if you knew, like, you know, there's other ones like Snapfish.
Right.
I just use Shutterfly because once you have, like you have all your photos in one place, I do too.
Well, and it depends on what you're trying to do. And the other thing that I'm trying to do is share with family and friends, post out to Facebook, different things like that. So it kind of depends on what you want to use it for.
Yeah, Shutterfly has all the sharing, and they also have the facial recognition. I don't know if you can type in the word cat, but you can certainly do the facial recognition one.
Okay.
But, you know, I mean, I like it because I love their product, and I get a lot of freebies. So right now, I have 2 8x8 books that I can make, which is hardcover is about $30, and I can make them for free. I pay $11 for shipping. But if I order a bunch of stuff and it's over 40, then I don't pay anything. I'm just kind of wondering.
No, I mean, that's.
I kind of missed the whole Picasa memo like a few years ago, and I'm not sure why. Maybe they weren't really advertising all their books and their products as much.
Well, again, it depends on what you're doing in that, and that's why the features for one person work great in this site or this package, and are not what another person wants there. But you know, certainly try these different ones, especially if you know, low cost or no cost. Just upload the 100 pictures and see how things work and stuff like that, and see what what goes. Okay, yeah.
This is Picasa going away.
Yeah, and that's I was going to get to. We're a little over, but yes, Picasa is no longer, as of May of last year, is no longer updated. But it still works, and obviously has integrations to Google Photos and some other options there. But long term, Google is not going to update it anymore, and that's why personally I'm looking for a replacement. I just want something that's going to give me minimal features there, because I mentioned in the handout the different steps that I go through, and you can kind of get an idea on the back here, the steps. I collect my photos from a number of different places. I adjust the date and time, so it's very easy to do in Picasa. I rename all my files because I don't like the unique names from this camera, and I have multiple cameras and multiple sources. I want a meaningful name, so I rename them all, and it's very easy to do in Picasa. I geotag them with Google Earth, so if they don't have a location, the stuff from my smartphone is already geotagged there, but all my other devices that I take pictures from, or if I save it from Facebook, it doesn't have a geotag. Well, it's very easy to geotag it with the GPS location there. I delete the photos to organize it. I crop and rotate, adjust the colors, and then I export the photos, because Picasa is making the changes there. I export those, and it's those exported ones that I then load up to Google Photos there. And I move them into an album there. And then once I have them there, then I save both my original on my PC and my new album on my PC. And and then I add some tags to it because tags still are nice to have. It makes searching a lot easier and exactly. It's not as fuzzy as what Google has, but if I put people's names and that in there to make it a lot easier to find them there, and then I upload it. So we're out of time here. Lots of good questions. What I'd recommend is you can try things out, and if you haven't used Picasa before, I wouldn't recommend going into Picasa because, again, hopefully you'll find something that'll replace Picasa there. But if you're currently using Picasa or have used it in the past, you can continue to use it and you can upload and work with Google Photos together with it and that. And then when something does come along, you can switch to that when you want. Any other questions or yes?
Is Google Photos actually a part of Google Drive?
It's using the same cloud storage. So if you upload photos to Google Drive, they'll show up in Google Photos.
And would that count against your storage limit?
It depends again on how they're uploaded. If they're uploaded from a smartphone, then they aren't, because the smartphone is going to do the compression when it puts it up on the deal. If you just have a directory on your hard drive and are putting it up, and it's copying the original size, so that would count against your size. But once you get them up, what you can do, let me go back here just a second. So once you're spaced, and if you do have questions there, go to the settings, and then it'll tell you how much space you have left. And if you're getting near the limit, you can do recover storage. It'll take your photos and compress it, and then that'll free up all that space. That makes sense. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you. It's a powerful package with a lot of options, and because it's free, it's certainly worthwhile going in and trying some of this stuff. Where am I?